Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're demystifying exactly how businesses create value, organize their internal operations, and ultimately get products into your hands. We're going to break down some incredibly powerful frameworks from the source material that will completely change the way you look at the companies you buy from every single day. Think about the last thing you ordered online. You clicked a button, right? And bam, a day or two later, a box is sitting right on your doorstep. It literally feels like magic. But behind that incredibly seamless experience is a massive, highly orchestrated web of activities. So how does a product actually get to your door? Well, answering that question requires us to look under the hood of a business and examine the specific, calculated steps it takes to move something from a raw material all the way to a finished good in your living room. Here is our macro to micro roadmap for today. First, decoding the value chain. Second, meet the primary activities. Third, we put a spotlight on outbound logistics. And finally, securing a competitive advantage. Let's get into it.
Section 1. Decoding the value chain.
To really understand logistics, we first have to understand the overarching framework that makes business operations tick. Our source material heavily anchors on a concept introduced by business strategist Michael Porter. Porter's value chain is defined as a sequential chain of activities a firm undertakes to add value and generate a profit margin. I want you to think of a company like a massively powerful, high-performance engine. Every single gear, every belt, every piston represents a specific activity. On their own, they might just be pieces of metal. But when you sequence them together perfectly, they generate incredible forward momentum. And in the business world, well, that momentum is your profit margin. Now, if we map out this entire engine, you'll see it actually splits horizontally. Up top, we've got support activities, things like human resource management and tech development. But down on the bottom, we have a sequence of primary activities. This whole ecosystem shows us that literally every task in a company, from hiring folks to sourcing raw materials, is linked together in the pursuit of creating value for the customer. Moving right along to Section 2, meet the primary activities. As our sources clarify, it is absolutely vital to distinguish between the two halves of Porter's framework. Primary activities are the hands-on ones. They're directly concerned with the physical creation, sale, delivery, and after-sales support of a product or service. Support activities, on the other hand, facilitate those primary tasks. They don't actually build the product, but they make sure the people building it are trained, paid, and equipped with the right technology to get the job done. So, what exactly are these hands-on tasks? The value chain outlines 5 sequential steps. Number 1, inbound logistics, receiving and storing raw materials. Number 2, operations, actually transforming those materials into a final product. Number 3, outbound logistics, getting that finished product out the door. Number 4, marketing and sales, persuading the customer to buy it. And number 5, service, taking care of the customer after the purchase. Notice how this perfectly mirrors the physical journey of a product from a pile of parts to a satisfied customer.
That brings us to Section 3, Spotlight on Outbound Logistics. We're zooming in tight on that critical third step in the sequence.
To firmly anchor our deep dive, let's look at the exact definition from our academic source texts. Outbound logistics encompasses distribution-related tasks, such as packaging, sorting, and shipping the finished product to buyers. It sounds pretty straightforward, right? But actually, the sheer complexity hiding behind those words, sorting and shipping, is literally where businesses either make their millions or completely lose their competitive edge. A super common point of confusion is mixing up the two types of logistics in the value chain. Let's clear up that timeline distinction right now. Inbound logistics happens before manufacturing. It's dealing with vendors to get raw materials like unshaped steel or bulk cotton into your warehouse. Outbound logistics happens after manufacturing. The product is finished. The t-shirt is sewn, the car is assembled. Outbound is 100% focused on collecting, storing, and physically distributing those finished goods to the final buyer. Because getting a product to a buyer goes way, way beyond just handing a box to a mail carrier. As the sources point out, it requires finished goods warehousing. It demands really complex order processing and scheduling systems. It involves the heavy physical labor of order picking and packing. You have to manage delivery vehicle operations, which, for some companies, means running a fleet of thousands of trucks. It even includes establishing and maintaining vast networks of dealers and distributors. We're talking about highly specific, incredibly costly assets that require masterful management. Let's ground all this theory in a massive real-world application from our sources, Walmart during the COVID-19 pandemic. In early 2020, as the pandemic hit, Walmart didn't just passively follow health protocols. They proactively and aggressively strengthened their supply chain to meet totally unprecedented customer demand. They knew that their ability to physically distribute goods, their outbound logistics, was about to be tested like never before. And because they had built such a robust, scalable, outbound logistics network, they absorbed the shock beautifully. The results? By April 2020, the Walmart grocery app registered a massive 460% growth in average daily downloads compared to just a few months prior. Plus, their U.S. operations saw comparable sales jump by 6%. They captured a massive chunk of market share precisely because their outbound logistics operations did not break under pressure. Let's zoom back out for our final section. Section 4, Securing a Competitive Advantage. Let's connect these operational mechanics directly to winning in the marketplace. The source text suggests dividing the value chain into two halves. Upstream value is generated before the product is made, usually through low-cost procurement and efficient inbound logistics. But downstream value, that's generated as the product moves to the customer, through effective marketing, competitive positioning, and, crucially, incredibly reliable outbound distribution. Outbound logistics is a massive, primary driver of downstream value. Think about it. If you can get a product to a customer faster and more reliably than your competitor, you win. So the real question is how you actually apply this to a business. Our sources outline the specific sequence of value chain analysis. First, you disaggregate the firm, meaning you identify every specific primary and support activity. Second, you allocate costs to each one. Third, you pinpoint what makes you different. Maybe your outbound delivery speed is totally unmatched. And finally, you examine the chain for linkages. Like, could buying better inbound raw materials reduce your outbound return shipping costs? By following these steps, a company leverages its logistics to either become the cheapest option on the market or the most uniquely reliable one. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the broad strokes of Michael Porter's engine to the highly specific delivery operations that helped Walmart thrive during a crisis. I want to leave you with a provocative thought based on everything we've explored. Take a hard look at the business you work for, or even the businesses you buy from every day. Map out their value chain. Are their primary activities perfectly aligned, or are they quietly struggling with their outbound logistics? Most importantly, where is your weakest link? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep analyzing, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.